It started with a bite, a tiny nibble of raw beef stolen from her mother's fridge. But by the end of that month, 15-year-old Clara Yates was digging into roadkill, breaking into funeral homes, and gnawing flesh from her own fingertips to stop the hunger. They thought it was a mental breakdown, a disorder. But the screams of the dead and the skin beneath her fingernails told another story. She wasn't starving, she was becoming something else. Before we sink our teeth into this chilling story, don't forget to subscribe to The Wall Have Ears, your home for real horror stories, unsolved mysteries, and the things that hide in the dark. Turn on notifications so you never miss what they don't want you to hear. Because around here, the wall has ears. It was late September when Clara Yates first noticed it. The gnawing emptiness in her gut, not the regular kind of hunger that made your stomach grumble. This was different. It sat like a cold snake in her belly, coiled and coiling no matter how many bites she took. At first, her parents dismissed it. Teenage growth spurt, said her father, Ben. Hormones, her mother, Teresa, added, shoving another sandwich into her lunch bag. But sandwiches weren't cutting it. Neither did the leftover lasagna, the peanut butter straight from the jar, or the bag of frozen chicken breast she unwrapped and gnawed raw one night under the refrigerator light. Sobbing with shame and confusion, she kept it hidden. Or at least she tried. The changes were subtle. Her eyes looked sunken. Her fingernails grew faster, sharp. Her breath had turned sour like decaying meat. Her schoolmates avoided her. Even her dog Louie whimpered when she entered the room. Then one night, she woke to find herself crouched in the corner of her room, chewing on a dead bird. She hadn't let it in. She didn't even remember leaving the bed. It was the neighbors who found Mr. Ellis, a kindly widower who liked feeding the crows in the morning and waving to Clara on her way to school. On October 3rd, his front door was ajar. His breakfast eggs and sausage was still warm on the table. But Mr. Ellis was in the living room, sprawled on the carpet. Half of his face had been eaten off. The police thought it was an animal at first, maybe a raccoon or a feral dog. But the coroner's report whispered something far worse. Bite marks consistent with human teeth. Clara heard the whispers at school. She heard them at the dinner table, too. How her father wouldn't touch the meat on his plate. How her mother stared at her too long, too often, like she was waiting for something to snap. And then came the dreams. She saw herself in a black forest, following a trail of bones. Saw her hands soaked in blood, reaching into rib cages. Woke with her teeth aching and the taste of iron on her tongue. By mid-October, Clara's arms were wrapped in gauze. She said it was from an accident in home ec. The truth was worse. She had started chewing her own skin. At school, she was caught digging into her shoulder with her teeth. When the teacher screamed and called the nurse, Clara only looked up her eyes wide, vacant, and whispered, "It won't stop. It won't ever stop." That night, she was taken to Millfield Psychiatric Center. The doctors labeled it pica at first, then psychosis, then dissociative identity disorder. But Clara knew they were wrong. This wasn't mental. It was physical. It was a thing inside her, growing, gnawing, feeding, and it didn't want trash or chalk or dirt like other pica patients. It wanted meat, raw, warm, human. Dr. Diane Hollins had seen everything, or so she thought. She reviewed Clara's MRI scans again and again. Nothing abnormal, no tumors, no foreign bodies. But the blood work was strange, elevated adrenaline, cortisol, and something else. Something inorganic. A dark protein that didn't match any known strand. She took tissue samples from Clara's bitten arm and watched in horror as the cells began to regenerate at an alarming rate, as if they were preparing for something. She tried questioning Clara. "What do you feel when the hunger comes cold?" Clara whispered. "Like the grave. Do you hear voices?" Clara's eyes twitched. Not voices, just chewing. Dr. Hollins ordered Clara sedated after she tried to eat another patient. But sedation only slowed her down. The CCTV footage from that night showed Clara standing over her bed, still. Then her head jerked up, and she began chewing her own shoulder, smiling. The next time Dr. Hollins entered Clara's room, she wasn't Clara. Her voice was lower, guttural. Something else was speaking through her. "You feed us too late," the thing said. "We are ancient. We are hunger." She opened the gate. "Now we must feed." "Who are you?" Hollins asked, trembling. "We are the Devourer. Where did you come from?" "The grave, the first grave. When the first man fell, we fed, and we've never stopped." Dr. Hollins backed out of the room. She had faced delusions before, split personalities, demonic ideations. But this felt real. That night, she tried to call the Department of Mental Health. She never made it home. They found her car in a ditch, driver's side door open, the seat soaked in blood, and claw marks on the dashboard. Her body was never found. Detective Raymond Keller had seen some gruesome cases, but nothing like this. 3 bodies in 1 week, all partially eaten, all near the psychiatric center. The hospital was in chaos. Patients vanished. A nurse was found stuffed into a laundry chute, her eyes missing, her lips torn off. Keller reviewed Clara's files and watched the tapes. "She's possessed," his partner Darrell said. "Or she's sick," Keller replied, but his voice shook. Then came the 911 call. I don't know what she is," a night janitor whispered over the phone. "But I saw her crawl up the wall. Not walk, crawl, like a spider." Police stormed the center. They found blood, a lot of it, rooms torn apart, scratch marks on the ceiling. And in the basement, beneath a rusted maintenance door, they found a pit. Old, ancient, covered in bones, some animal, some human. And in the center, Clara sat, cradling a nurse's severed hand like a toy. Her eyes were entirely black. She smiled. Anthropologist notes were found among Dr. Hollins' final files. Clara had been adopted. Her biological mother, Amelia Baines, was part of a cult in North Carolina known as the Hollow Feast. They believed in an entity called the Devourer, a spirit that lived beneath the earth, awakened through ritual hunger and blood sacrifice. Amelia had been arrested in 2006 for attempting to feed her newborn to pigs. She died in prison, reportedly biting her own tongue off and choking on the blood. Clara was that child. She had survived, but something inside her hadn't died. After the massacre at Millfield, Clara was moved to a black site, undisclosed location, armed guards, reinforced restraints. But hunger cannot be contained. The guards started disappearing. One officer reportedly walked into the room and calmly slit his own throat while whispering, "She is inside me now." Then the power went out, and the security feed showed nothing but static and chewing sounds. By the time backup arrived, every single person in the facility was gone. No blood, no bodies, just teeth, hundreds of them, lined up on the floor in a perfect circle, as if left as an offering. Clara was gone. Now stories of Clara, of the Devourer, circulate online. Urban legends, horror forums, late-night Reddit threads. They say she was seen in Ohio, chewing raw meat in a grocery store parking lot. Others say she's hitchhiking across state lines, leaving only bone piles in her wake. One viral TikTok video showed a girl fitting her description, leaning over a bus bench, devouring a squirrel whole. The account was deleted within minutes, but the comments remained. She looked at me. My hunger hasn't stopped since I watched that. I hear chewing at night. You may think this is just a story, just a tale to make your skin crawl. But if you feel hungry, truly hungry, after listening to this, if you crave meat you'd never dare eat before, you might have heard her. She doesn't knock, she gnaws, and she never stops. If you made it to the end of this horrifying story, make sure to subscribe to The Wall Have Ears, where true nightmares breathe and every whisper may be your last. Hit that bell so you never miss what's lurking in the shadows. Until next time, keep your ears open and your appetite in check.